like that you guys are kind of trying to make up for Keegan's absence?
I mean, it's basketball. It sucks for him, obviously. I've talked to him, but, you got to, it's sports. When one person goes down, somebody else gets an opportunity, and it really shows the demeanor of your team. And the teams I've played on, we've dealt with injuries every year. It's something that you just have to get around. And, it's terrible, but, he'll come back, and then we just got to figure out how to play from here.
Do you like what you're seeing as you guys kind of work through some things?
Say it again?
Do you like what you're seeing from your group as you kind of work through some things?
Yeah, I mean that's what training camp preseason is for. We've seen some things that we're not good at, some things that we are. So over these next 10 days, whatever it is before the season opener, we get a little bit more cleanup time.
Defensively, when you guys do with the spacing and trying to make sure you guys don't overcompensate, how do you guys kind of replicate that and make sure you guys are working on that in practice?
With
like spacing in terms of three-point shooting, three-point defense, and as well as like picking up 94 feet, making sure it's not 4 on 5.
Yeah, I think every team you're not going to be able to take away everything, and then every team has their strengths and weaknesses. So from game plan to game plan, you got to figure out if they're a three-point shooting team, how do you take that away? Or at least make it tough on them to try to switch it up. But that's the point of what we're doing. Is we're trying to disrupt anything that they're able to do and try to get us the ball back.
Those first couple games, you've been getting kind of rhythm, getting kind of hot out there in three-point land. Would Dennis have anything to do with that? As far as being a point guard, as getting open.
Dennis is great, but I shot 45% from three last year, so ain't nothing new.
You mentioned demeanor, and you learned a little bit about your team's demeanor. What are you seeing in that regard?
Our team's demeanor? I think we're a resilient team. We got some younger dudes and some older guys, but we're all trying to mesh and figure it out. Obviously, we put in a new offense, we put in a new defense. It's not going to look pretty, the first couple games. I don't think that's what it's meant for. We're supposed to figure out what looks good at doing and what fits for our team and our identity, and play to our strengths.
And how about Doug, his approach to adversity from what we saw at the end of last season and already this year?
I mean, Doug was a player. He was able to deal with adversity in his career, and I think he's going to be just as fine with doing it as a coach as well. And he's a player's coach. He knows how to talk to guys. Guys respect him and his voice. So it's nothing new. Doug's a great guy.
You approach these next 2 preseason games. Anything you're kind of locked in on that you want to see from you guys?
Just keep getting better, and the more plays and the more defensive schemes we put in, how quickly we can implement them. When Doug draws up certain plays in a timeout, he'll throw out certain things that we haven't worked on just to see if we can figure it out in the game. And I think that's the time to do it now because it doesn't count. So that you got to try to simulate real games as fast as we can.
What if anything are they asking you to do different? Maybe you might be more accustomed to doing historically.
As a team or as me personally?
Individually, yeah. Is there anything in some of those schemes that you have to do differently?
No, I think, just for me more, it's probably just being able to create shots off the ball. Obviously, I'm gonna have my time on the ball, and when they need me to, run the offense, but how to be able to space correctly and help guys out with just my gravity. If it's cutting, if it's coming off of a handoff the right way, things like that. I think that's stuff that they've been emphasizing.
Well,
that media day, why you have the ability to run out there. How do you feel like that's going to go?
I felt good. It's funny that whatever a narrative gets put out about somebody, I think it's fair or unfair. People can run with it, especially when they don't watch basketball as much as maybe we do. And I could care less what somebody says about me. I've had to play defense. I've had to guard the number 1 option in Chicago for the last 5 years. I've always been a pretty good defender. Now, off the ball, I've always had to have a little bit work on that. But on ball defense, there's not a lot of guys that's more athletic than me or going to get by me. So unless you guys haven't watched me a lot, obviously being in Sacramento, but I feel more than fine with being able to guard.
What do you think the narrative is?
I don't know. I could care less too, though. But it is what it is. I'm not here to satisfy anybody. I know how good I am and what I do out there.
Well, how do you feel? How do you feel like you did the last couple games? Defensively.
I feel good. You don't ever try to get scored on, obviously, and you try to hold your own, hold your yard. But we're all have the right mindset of having each other's back and being aggressive. And even if it's like the first game, I think we're trying to pick up 94 feet. It's got to be a game plan thing. You know, we're playing against Toronto it's a really quick point guard. You know, certain games you might not want to pick him up full court because you're playing into his hands, but you need to play better team defense. But I think the intent of everybody getting up and pressuring and playing more offensive, you know, you're trying to make them dictate instead of waiting for them on the defensive end. So I think that we're doing a good job of that.
You've spent a lot of time around DeMar, obviously. What does it look like with him at the 4 if you guys decide to go small at times?
I mean, with him at the 4, we'll just be playing 3 guards or 4 guards. You know, it's not just because you label him a 4, it don't mean anything. We'll probably be switching 1 through 4, and then we'll obviously have an advantage on the other end. You know, just because you're small on the defensive end, they still have to guard you on the offensive side. You know, I played with DeMar enough, and you guys know how he's one of the best scorers in NBA history. So, you know, put him in an element to where he can take advantage of that heads up, and then you know, you'll be okay. You know, we'll be able to help each other on defense enough to where we can take an advantage of it on offense.
Speaking of narratives, do you feel like that the narrative that you and DeMar can't work is something that you guys want to prove that it can't actually happen here in Sacramento?
I mean, I think we've shown what it looked like when we did work out. You know, we were the #1 team in the East for a reason. We were both All-Stars for a reason. You know, now there's a lot of things that go into that outside of individual play. You know, we've shown individually we've been able to play and be as good as anybody in the NBA. Now we got to be able to put that in a team concept to where, you know, you need a healthy season, you need the right pieces around you, you need the right, you know, leadership. But I think we're up for any task. You know, I can speak for myself, but I know I can speak for him too. He's more than confident, so you know, I've never lacked confidence myself.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Bud.
Thanks.